What's the vibe after a game like that? Do you go home and watch everything that went on in that game, or do you feel like, all right, I need a break for a day? How do you handle a game that's as disappointing as that one was?
I don't watch any film or anything until the next day when we come in for meetings. I kind of, it's quite a long day of my routine and process and everything. So once the game's over and I get home, I just try to relax and take my mind off it.
Hey, what do you like to do off the field, Michael, when you're not playing football?
Yeah, in season it's kind of just all football, to be honest. I'll go for walks and stuff, but it's pretty much mostly dedicated to just football, and we'll go to dinner and go to the movies with my wife, but it's kind of, the sun goes down at like 4:30, so it's not much to really do.
Welcome to Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle in the wintertime. Gets dark early. Hey, how do you gauge whether you're having a good season or not? What are the numbers a punter looks at? Because, I mean, you can look at your average punt, but that's not really telling a story. Depending on field position, you're not trying to boom it every time. So is it, how many times the percentage inside the 20, or what's the gauge you use to determine, hey, I'm having a good year?
So I track my own stats every practice, every game, and I'll, have a category for balls that I, aren't happy with. So it's pretty much, if I don't have a lot of those balls, I'm having a good year. So that's kind of how I track it. I don't really look at stats and try and compare them to other guys because, everyone's situation is different. When you're playing in Seattle, you've got to deal with the elements a bit, so it's kind of hard to compare to a lot of other guys.
Hey, Michael, I remember, the play that you made in Detroit where I think you ran out of the end zone. But, tell us about, like, what's your best tackle, and do you take pride in that?
No, if I'm tackling,
it's not good.
Something hasn't, So I don't really take pride in it. I know if they get through, I'll try and be there, but haven't really had to make too many tackles.
We had that situation a couple of games ago where you were dealing with a back issue, and we were all watching on the sidelines, watching Jason Myers warming up out there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you coach him at all? I saw some video of him working on it at practice when you were sort of questionable. Are you out there coaching him up, or how does that work in terms of you not being able to go and then he gets thrown into action?
I mean, lucky we didn't punt in that game because the wind was awful. So if I had to send him out during that game, that would have been pretty stiff. But I don't really coach him. He kind of knows what he's doing. It's like, just hit your best ball. You can't really get too picky when it comes down to filling in for someone's position like that.
Hey, Michael, I got to imagine being the holder is one of the more nerve-wracking jobs, but you must just take thousands of those, right? Is that what kind of cancels out any nerves, is that you've just done it so many times? And how many times would you say during a week are you practicing the holding part of it?
Yeah, a couple hundred times a week, and then maybe 100 times on game day. Yeah, it's just reps. It's one of those things. It's just reps, and if you have like a really high standard for your holding, then you just get better, and your average becomes consistently good. So it's just a rep thing.
Hey, back to that game where your back was acting up, because I'm somebody that's had a lot of back issues, so I know what it's like when you just can't do anything, you can't move. When you were taking the snap, I was thinking, once you're in that position, I know I would be okay. It would be standing up would be the hard part after you're in that position. But were you feeling it when you were down there taking the snap and the back was acting up on you?
Yeah, and running out on the field I tried jogging out and I just couldn't. So I had to give my best power walk out to get out there. But getting down and getting up was hard. It was a little stiff when I was down there as well. But I was like, I feel like I'd be better than the backup, so it wasn't a question about going in for that.
Hey, Michael, this is the first time that I've heard people call you Dicko, and we heard it from Coach, and we heard it from from your kicker there, Jason. Where did that come from? How long has that been going on?
that's like an Australian would give you that nickname. There was a New Zealander here my rookie year. He called me Dicko. Then we got an Aussie strength coach who calls me Dicko. So I've been called Dicko for years here.
Hey, I'm looking at your game log here. I would imagine you're on a good night. You're not doing much, right? You if things are going well, you're hopefully we're not going to see you very often. But this last night was the game you had the second most punch you've had all season. Does it even register the next day? Like, man, I was working. I'm a little more sore than I normally am, or anything feels different on a night where you've got 6 or 7 punts versus 2?
Not really, just because most of my work comes from the warm up, and then staying warm on the sidelines. So I basically hit about the same amount of balls every game, whether I punt 0 times or whether I punt 6 times.
Hey, Michael, I know we've asked you this before, but just tell us the mechanics of kicking a punt that far that actually backs up, like almost like it's got spin on it, like a golf shot. How are you executing that? I think you said you dropped the nose down. Take us through that.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways to do it, but yeah, I'll try and drop the nose down and try and get the rotation as like perpendicular to the ground as possible. So you want it kind of rotating it kind of up and down, and that gives you a good chance that it's going to sit, but you can't get it every time. It just kind of increases the chances of it sitting.
When did that start? When did punters start doing that? I mean, it used to be just kick the ball and try to either coffin corner it or just try to kick it out of bounds down inside the 10. But when was the first time that you did that or you saw somebody doing that?
My history isn't too good, to be honest. So I only know from when I've been playing. So I mean, I'm sure guys were doing it for a while before I started doing it. I started doing it in college in 2015. And that's basically the kick that you do in my old sport. That's like the most prominent kick, the backwards rotation kick. So it's quite comfortable for me to hit those.
Michael Dickson has been our guest here with Wyman and Bob. Michael, always a pleasure to speak with you. We appreciate you cutting out time for us.
All right, thank you.